3, collars up, Michael Carrick strikes again. December 2021, Carrick had already, as a caretaker manager, done Villarreal, then got a draw against Chelsea and beat Arsenal 3-2 at Old Trafford. 5 years later, January 2026, and he strikes again. He does a repeat, this time at the Emirates. Arsenal 2, Manchester United 3. What a match. Not as good as not as good a performance as we played against, as we did and delivered against Manchester City, but really good performance in a very dogged way, determined, spirited way. This was a match which wasn't easy. I felt things didn't quite go our way. First of all, well done to Arsenal because they played well. They opened well. They came out the blocks with the dominant side, and they attacked. They didn't pose too much of a problem, but I know, obviously, Lamens had a couple of saves to make. I think he had one at set piece. We knew coming into the game that set pieces were going to be crucial. If I'm not mistaken, Arsenal and Man United are the two teams who have scored the most set pieces. Arsenal more so than Man United. So that was crucial. In the first game, when in our opener at Old Trafford, I said it then, I said it now. We were the better team. We dominated Arsenal. We completely, I thought, credit to Amorim there. We took control, but on that day we had Bayern in goal. Amorim, maybe he ran out of gas. I'm not sure, but they scored from a freak set piece, which was partially a foul because they blocked Bayern, but Bayern was a little bit too weak, and Arsenal came out with the victory at Old Trafford, stole the victory. Well, they were back at it again. Couple of early corners. I think they got like 8 corners or something, but a couple of early corners straight away, and we could see that if Arsenal were to score, it was going to be from one of them. But as the game progressed, I think Arsenal dominated for the first 20 minutes. I don't agree with Mikel Arteta about the whole half an hour. Absolutely not. The game kind of like stabilized and stagnated a little bit, but it was a mistake. It was a mistake that cost Man United. Not a mistake. It was a couple of mistakes. The first mistake, Patrick Dorgu, I think it was probably preordained. It was probably something that they worked on, but Dorgu kept getting caught, kept facing Saka. Now, we set out as a 4 at the back, but Patrick Dorgu was doubling up with Luke Shaw, and he just found himself at the back. I think it was something, again, that was planned, that was probably worked on and predetermined by Carrick. Listen, Saka is the most dangerous player, Arsenal's most dangerous player, and I think even on the night, he was Arsenal's most dangerous player. He was probably the only player who threatened Man United, and I give him credit. He had Dorgu on toast. And in fact, I kept saying this, Dorgu has been much better offensively throughout his career at Man United, consistently better offensively than defensively. And playing him, dovetailing with Luke Shaw, it didn't work. When Luke Shaw was facing Saka one-on-one on his own, I think Luke Shaw had a much better success rate, in my opinion, than Patrick Dorgu. But that changed. So, during the course of the game, but let's hear about when it changed. Patrick Dorgu had a clearance to make, and instead of sending it either far on for a throw-in or even easier, just put it at the back for a corner. Did neither. He headed it like that. Pig header went up, right up in the sky. Fell to an Arsenal player. Fell to Saka. Saka sent it into Odegaard, who had a crap shot, and it ended up hitting Martinez in the back heel and went in for the Arsenal opener. It was an own goal. What was disappointing was Martinez. That was clearly a mistake. Martinez was marking Timber. What on earth was Timber doing there? He caused a problem for Man United. He was a problem in the United box. I recall, obviously, when we had Ten Hag and we were touting, we were being linked by every player in the Ajax squad. Well, Justin Timber was someone who was heavily linked with Man United. And I think Ten Hag wanted both centre-backs, both Timber and Martinez. In the end, he only got Martinez, which is fine. But Timber is someone who I've always rated highly. He was close to joining Man United. And he's having an excellent season at right back. In fact, when Ben White came, you could see, Timber is actually head and shoulders better than Ben White. Anyway, wasn't to be. So Justin Timber put the pressure on Martinez. Martinez was just at sea, was caught in no man's land. Didn't know where the ball was hitting him. Back heel, and it's 1-0 to Arsenal. That's when it flipped. And we turned. That's where we first saw Carrick and Man United's spirit, because we didn't let that affect us. As I said, the game had stabilized. It's just that Arsenal hit first. And from then on, I think it was all Man United, because Mbeumo was played in and great first touch. But since he's come back from the CAM, from the African Cup of Nations, the AFCON, sorry, seems to have lost a little bit of that pace. I think he's a little bit tired. Bruno Fernandes, who wasn't having a good game till then, plays Mbeumo through. And I thought, after especially that great first touch, yes, he moved a bit on the side of the post, but with his power, with his striking capabilities, and remember at that time we had not tested the Arsenal keeper Raya, I thought he should have had a shot, but not to be. Maybe that's not the way that they want to do things. They don't just want to have shots if they're not confident on scoring. So he cuts it back for Bruno Fernandes, who until that point again was not having a good game, and Bruno Fernandes just wasted the shot. And then we had a second chance where Bruno Fernandes again, I think, plays Mbeumo. Mbeumo has a loop shot and he went right on top, just a little bit long, a little bit wide of Raya's post. So that was chance number 2. And number 3 fell to Bruno himself, which, at first I was like, oh, damn, Bruno's just not in his game. But later on, we see that I think it was Saliba, but one of the Arsenal defenders actually got a touch before the ball came to Bruno. So he actually touched it onto Bruno's feet and he put the ball wide. But it was all Man United. And lo and behold, that fourth chance came, and it was from an Arsenal pressure closing in on Zubimendi. Now, like you guys, I'm sure we've been watching previews, we've been watching the fan cams, etc., and Arsenal fan cams are talking about Zubimendi like it was peak Kante or peak Roy Keane or something, one of the channels had a comparison between Zubimendi and Casemiro, and my goodness, were they arrogant in saying, oh well, Zubimendi, world class, better than Casemiro, etc. Well, what do you know? Zubimendi is the one who passed the ball back to Mbeumo, squared him up. What an assist, by the way. Mbeumo, like we've seen under Carrick so far, when we're getting those chances, we are not scared to take on the keeper, take on that final defender, and rounded Raya and scored. 1-1. That would have hit Arsenal where it hurt most. I get it. And somehow, somewhere, don't know if Carrick passed the message, but we stopped seeing Dorgu at the back helping out Shaw, and he was a lot more forward. And guys, I said this while watching the match. I said it before the match. I said it while watching the match, especially because I like Dorgu. I really like Dorgu. I think he possesses great physical attributes, but I want to see him far from our goalpost. I want to see him towards the opposition goalpost. And Patrick Dorgu turned into Ballon Dorgu. What a move, ladies and gentlemen. What a move that was. 1-2, give and go. Bruno Fernandes. Dorgu takes it on and unleashes a shot across the ball. Sliced it. Perfection. That ball beat Raya. Dipped. And it always looks better when it hits. Comes off the crossbar or the post. It comes off the woodwork. And it was a cracker. Christmas cracker. So, Ballon Dorgu strike again. What a beautiful move. Unfortunately, they had us waiting because I think they were checking for handball. There was, out of all the technology there, I didn't see it touch the hand, let alone being progressed by the hand, either controlled or a forward kind of like movement. No, none of that. They tried to suggest, and I thought the referee before that point, I thought he was going to try and find a way to cancel it out because it just didn't give United anything up to that point. But nothing wrong with that shot. In fact, this goes into the archives as one of the top 10 easily goals at the Emirates by a United player for sure. In fact, there's a brilliant list. On top of my mind, I recall in the black again, Antonio Valencia, driving into the Arsenal back line and scoring. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he passed to Welbeck, driving and passing to Welbeck. That was a quality goal, and then he scored to win to make us win 2-1. Welbeck, I think, scored for a win as well. And if I'm not mistaken as well, Valencia's had some good games against Arsenal. He scored a header from Ryan Giggs's cross. So those are some great goals. We've had some good counter-attacks scored by Rooney. I remember one by Angel Di Maria, squaring it for Rooney after brilliant counter-attack, and obviously Ji-sung Park. Some great goals. This goes right up there. M4N Nubis, good night. Very, very nice live. Thank you very much, sir. I'm from Brazil. Brilliant. Great to have you on. And wait for the moment, because there's your compatriot who made me scream the house down. So we'll be talking about that shortly. But coming back to away goals at Arsenal, Nani Magic, where he cuts between the two players, dribbles, and then chips the goalkeeper. What a fantastic goal. That remains one of my favorites. But these goals today will be sitting in very, very good company. Rashford's scored a couple against Arsenal, screamers. So very, very good. But Ballon d'Or, what a hit. And so this was us 2-1 up in the second half. And I thought we were cruising at that point. Mbeumo had come off. Gyökeres had come on. By the way, what a disappointment for any Arsenal fans out there. What a disappointment this guy's been. Gyökeres. I'm just very happy we didn't go for him. Some would argue we didn't back Amarim, but just as well, I didn't want Gyökeres to come in. I know he had mental numbers. I think he had 55 goals for Sporting. Mate, he's scored 5 goals for Arsenal. An Arsenal team, top of the league, supposedly the best team in the league, etc., etc., la-di-da. I think out of those 5s, there's penalties as well. What a disappointment this guy has been, Gyökeres. And he came on, he was this useless self again. So I think that was an uplift for United. Mbeumo came off, he looked tired. Cunha came on for him, brilliant. And then Dorgu came off, and we were still 2-1. But now I go back to the keeper. I think Lamens needs to be stronger on corners. Little bit like Bayern, but I mean, Bayern was just quite simply weak. Today, a couple of things about Lamens. One, I don't think United should give him like a pink or salmon, whatever top it is, when we're playing a team in red. I just, you just couldn't tell. He kept getting overshadowed. That's mostly for us optically online. But secondly, if the referees are not giving the protection, I think the United players have to protect Lamens. Also, he missed. He came out for 2 corners. He missed. One, he completely flapped, and I think Arsenal mucked it up. But the second one, they scored from. I didn't see the ball going across the line. I've not seen the ball cross the line. But I'll take the referee's word for it because they get a technology that it has, whether it has indeed crossed the line or not. Arsenal, apart from these corners, not even set pieces, but apart from these corners, have not caused United problems. They scored from an own goal from Martinez where he was completely at fault, and then they scored from this corner. Or they scored from the corner where the ball didn't hit the back of the net. In fact, Cunha cleared it off, but somehow it was deemed to have crossed the line. Fair enough, 2-2. I think it was very undeserved, so harsh, and I was extremely disappointed. Luckily for me, the disappointment didn't last long, because I've spoken about Gyökeres. Well, United had also bought a striker for similar amounts. Big, strong striker who was linked with Arsenal. I think start the window, Šeško was linked with Arsenal and Gyökeres was linked with Manchester United. I am glad it went the other way around and Gyökeres went to Arsenal and Šeško came to Man United. Not that Šeško set the world alight for United, definitely not. But he offers something more different. It's a lot. He's certainly younger than Gyökeres. It's a lot taller than him. And just in terms of raw attributes, I think he edges Gyökeres. Listen, guys, Gyökeres played for Coventry. This guy played for Coventry, played in the Championship. He's not a bad player at all. I just don't think he can play for Coventry a couple of seasons ago and then all of a sudden be scoring goals in a title challenge for Arsenal. I just don't think it will happen. So anyway, I've seen a lovely comment come up. What's up from No Signal 13? This stream deserves more attention. This is good content you're making. Thank you very much, sir. Really appreciate the encouragement. It's my passion, and I'm glad you guys also enjoy it. Thank you. But now comes this goal. And I hope M4N Ubis from Brazil is also listening, because the ball comes up, Šeško holds it up, that 6'5" frame, brings it into play. Ball comes to Bruno. Who else? I thought the second half Bruno was really good. First half he faded, but second half came into his own. Anyway, Shesko to Bruno. Bruno plays Mainu, and Mainu just opens Cunha. Sends the ball, and Cunha has the freedom to run. And I've got to be honest, I've not been the biggest praise guy or bigging up Cunha, because his shots, he's been taking a lot of shots and they've been weak. But this time he ran with the ball, had the space, ran with the ball and unleashed a shot, bent it around the Arsenal defender to tuck it into that corner. What a goal. What a goal. Inspiration from Ballon d'Or, obviously. So, beautiful move. Man United with two absolute crackers, absolute corkers. Both of those goals, in my opinion, should go into the top dozen goals that United have scored at the Emirates or away at Arsenal, and thoroughly deserve our win, I thought. We're going to get to the player ratings. I don't think any United player necessarily played an exemplary game. Dorgu was magical, obviously, with that motion. And actually, I didn't mention this, but right after he scores the goal, Dorgu almost went for another Puskás award. I mean, he got played in, and that's when we could actually see that turn of pace. It was very Gareth Bale-like. He went on, and he absolutely rocketed this shot, but he focused so much on the power as opposed to the precision, and it flew over the bar. But I just thought to myself, I mean, man, oh man, had that connected towards, the goalpost, there's no way Raya would be stopping that shot. So thank you so much, No Signal. Really appreciate it. But Dorgu was on fire. However, the same Dorgu, when we played in the first half and he was asked to track Saka back and just be defensive, that wasn't a good performance by Dorgu. And then the same with Bruno. Bruno, when he's in his element, he's in that 10, he's got players close to him, and then he's got runners. Fantastic. I think Bruno's one of those who can pick out those passes, etc. But in the first half, we just saw a whiny Bruno. Someone misplaced a pass, and he started moaning, started having a go. Just arguing with the referee all the time. And Bruno's not one of these guys like a Rooney. If he's arguing, he's going to pump up and deliver performances. I think when Bruno starts whining and moaning, it takes it away from his skill, which is all up in the head. Bruno is one of the most intelligent players on a football pitch. He sees things that others don't. A little bit like Kevin De Bruyne, not quite as a player, but they will see things that the ordinary person doesn't see, and he'll have the audacity and the brevity to execute. But Bruno, again, first half an hour, didn't play well enough. Later on, grew into the game. So let's actually look at the player ratings. I've got some notes with respect to some of the players that I thought could have been better. Let's start with Lamens. Flapped at the corners. I thought he's got it. Obviously, listen, Lamens for me is probably the player of the season, the most important signing that Man United could have done, and the biggest transformation of a position. Guys, we had an absolute clown in goal. Make no mistake about that. And I'm not being disrespectful. Well, I am. But that's not my intention. It's not personal. But Andre Onana was a big problem. Andre Onana, in my opinion, is the sole biggest reason for Ten Hag to be dismissed as United manager. Ten Hag brought us good drills, some decent football, and trophies. We've not had that. The last person to win us a trophy is still Ten Hag. But Andre Onana and some others, like Anthony, etc., but particularly Andre Onana, single-handedly has cost Ten Hag his job. So we went from David De Gea, who is a club legend, it's a Premier League legend, to Andre Onana, who is the worst of the worst. He'll go down like the Taibis of this world, in my opinion, to now getting Lamens, who I'm not going to put him in that De Gea bracket yet, but Lamens has solved many a problem at United and has brought in a calmness and just a fortitude about United. I mean, when we started against Manchester City, he was hitting those long balls. We were hitting City where they hurt. City wanted to defend from the halfway line, and Lamens was playing the ball in quickly. Today against Arsenal, Arsenal don't like they defend deep, but we were playing them short passes into Lamens, who was again brilliant with his feet. A few times we attracted the Arsenal players and we worked it out supremely well, and we went to the Arsenal back four. So Lamens is great, but he's still a very young keeper. He's still making his debut in the Premier League, and today he came up a little bit short in the corners. By the way, this Arsenal team for me is potentially one of the best teams, at least in recent Premier League history, one of the best teams on set pieces. Not overall, on set pieces. And the fact that Theo Walcott, sorry to digress, but the fact that Theo Walcott had the balls to even utter this Man United side of 2008 was absolutely ridiculous. What is he thinking? I'm glad Wayne Rooney just shut him down and said we would batter them. And this is not even banter, guys. Man United 2008 is one of the best teams ever, period. How would this Arsenal fare against them? They wouldn't. It's like playing a championship team. It's like a Premiership team playing a championship team. I'm not even exaggerating. When you do like-for-like comparisons, there is no comparison. Anyway, however, where I give Arsenal their flowers is they are really well drilled when it comes to set pieces. They are a threat, and they teeter on the brink of unfairness, on fouls. I mean, what they do during corners, at least when they've played Man United, I mean, for me, that was a foul, but oh well, it's not been given. Well, Lamens is learning it the hard way. He didn't play against Arsenal in the first game of the season. He played against them now, got caught twice, made a couple of mistakes, and it cost us a goal. So that was the negative. But on the plus, he made 3 saves, I think, in total. Was very good with his distribution. Came short, long. So I'll give him a 6.5 out of 10. No Signal 13. I got you, bro. Posted something excellent. Thank you so much. No Signal 13. Great to see you on here, and hope you continue to like and share your opinions with us. So Lamens 6.5 for me. Luke Shaw, first half was in and out of the game. Again, I think that was probably more tactical, and that didn't work. But when he was faced one-on-one with Saka, who I think Saka was by far and away Arsenal's best player. I won't say Luke Shaw pocketed Saka. I think it was a very good duel between two England internationals. A couple of times Saka done him, and a few times, probably more, Luke Shaw stopped Saka. So well done to Luke Shaw. I'd give him a 7. Martinez, for me, look, I'm going to be nice and generous, so I'm going to say this. Everyone's going to get a positive score, so they'll get an average or above average score. So I give Martinez a 6.5, but he made a mistake. He was not as sturdy as he was against Manchester City, and he couldn't pick Justin Timber. Timber caused him problems. Saliba, those set pieces, again, Martinez, I think, has got to try and find a solution, be stronger. But just a word on Martinez. I saw a clip going around in the socials after of Martinez's dad holding up, a flag, an Argentinian flag with Martinez's face, and him going over. Guys, this is just at Man United that you get such feelings. I mean, I don't know much about other clubs, but what a sentimental scene that was. That you had the fans while Licha was hugging his dad. Fans were hugging both of them, and what a great moment! What a great moment to share. I mean, the butcher, as we call him. Great moment, and I'm glad he's doing well for us. But he's got to cut out these mistakes, which he also had before the Manchester City game. His partner in crime, Maguire. I don't think Maguire had mistakes. He's been steady, probably a man of the match contender actually. But he's part of the defense that conceded 2 goals, and should, in my opinion, because those 2 goals came from set pieces. I don't think Maguire had a direct negative influence on the game, but I think he should have had a more dominant influence, because this game called for him. It was all set pieces. Arsenal were never going to open United up. They were always going to score from a set piece. They were always going to score from corners if they were going to score. And I thought Maguire should have got his head to a lot more of that. I think that's what De Ligt would have done. And Maguire almost, I don't think it's a penalty, but almost cost us the penalty while going down. His hand was down and it clipped a ball, but it was more ball to hand. So Maguire gets a 7. Maguire gets a 7. As does Dalot. Listen, again, Dalot the same. He's not doing all sorts of like crazy magical plays, but Dalot's being told to defend, and defend is what he's doing. So while Saka got, the breaks on the left-hand side, I don't think Dalot allowed that on the right-hand side for Man United. I just didn't see much attack from Arsenal on the left. Yeah, I don't know if Trossard really even had a chance, but anyway, I know he sliced the ball from the corner, but Dalot must have done a good job, and for that reason, I give him a 7 as well. Now we come into the midfield. Casemiro. The midfield was a funny one for me, because in the first, again, 30 minutes, we were getting run out. They were penetrating. Casemiro put himself about. He was the better player. But I think towards the latter stages of the game, when United were more dominant, Mainu started getting into his own. So I'd give both of them. In fact, Mainu got an assist as well. So I'd give both of them a 7 out of 10. Could improve, probably should improve, but I'm very happy on a week that Casemiro came out and mentioned, he's once a Red, always a Red, obviously, and that he'll be retiring at the end of the season. I mean, he put on a performance that was dignified of his name. He put all his heart into the game, and shows us that, we'll have a hard time to replace him. But 7 out of 10 for both of us, for both of them. Now on to Ballon d'Or. Wow. Listen, guys, just for that goal alone, it's a 9 for just that goal alone. And he did do well attacking wise. But I can't forget a game is of 90 minutes plus stoppage time, and Dorgu got skinned by Saka. I'm sorry to say, but that first half, Dorgu got skinned by Saka, and I'm going to put my hands up. I was actually calling for him to be replaced. Not because he's bad, because I thought the system that Carrick was deploying was not suiting Dorgu. And I'm going to get onto Carrick. And I mentioned this part. So we're going to talk about Carrick just in a short while and the difference between him and Amarim. But when Dorgu is in the opposition half, people are comparing him to Bale. Very valid, guys. Very valid, because physically, he's a specimen. He's super strong. He's got a turn of pace. Not as quick as Bale, in my opinion, for sure. But he's got a rocket of a shot. And if that shot connects and it's on target, there's no saving it. But fantastic today. What a goal. So far, the Pushkash Award goes to him. Let's see what the rest can come up with. For me, would be a 5 in the first half an hour, 9 later on, and just that little bit of brilliance. 7.5, one of the man of the match contenders for sure. Outfield players. Bruno Fernandes, similar to Dorgu, a game of two halves, a tale of two stories almost, and it would be a 5.5 in the first part and 8.5 on the second. I'd give Bruno a 7 out of 10. When Bruno is on song, he makes Man United tick. And what I liked is he combined with Mainu really well. It was a proper triangle, you know. It's like Casemiro, Mainu, Bruno. The 6, 8, 10 worked really well, and then let the other three kind of just penetrate the Arsenal defense. I thought that midfield, once they got compact and worked well, Man United had more control. So, yeah, 7 out of 10 for Bruno. Ahmad, I didn't see much of Ahmad, to be honest. I'll give him a 6.5 out of 10. Again, he was on that side with Diego Dalot. I think most of the match was played on the other half with Luke Shaw, with Martinez, with Dorgu, Bruno, you know, those players. I'll give him a 6.5. And Mbeumo. Guys, Mbeumo has been missed by Man United when he was not here. We cannot underestimate the value that Mbeumo brings to this Man United team, because he's just an excellent player. He's not even a winger. He's not just a right winger. He's just an excellent player. And at the moment, he starts as the number 9. Give Mbeumo chances, he'll finish. Touch wood, but he'll finish. Which is why I was gutted that he didn't just take a shot. I'd back Mbeumo all day, every day, take a shot at Raya, bearing down on him, even if it was, you know, on the side and not dead in the center of goal. I think he's that good. Fair enough. And when he got played in, listen, he had to be alert. That came from pressing. He rounded the keeper and just put the ball in the back of the net. And Mbeumo is our top scorer. We need him, and he had a very good game. There were so many instances where he combined with Bruno and could have added to his tally. So Mbeumo for me gets a 7.5. Defense right from the top, shows great attitude, great skill, and is delivering the results. 7.5 out of 10, one of the men of the match contenders. Cunha, the Brazilian. What a turnaround we're seeing. I think this is one of the biggest impacts. We've obviously got Mainu, but we've got Cunha. With Amarim going, here is one player who's taken it upon himself to shine. Now, I say that Carrick's not actually started Cunha, because I don't think Cunha played well enough under Amarim to warrant starting. But who's this man? Cunha Solskjaer, super sub, coming on, providing an assist, brilliant performance against Manchester City. And again today, I thought Mbeumo was tired, got his goal, and then was subbed quite rightly. Cunha comes on, again, playing on point. It's not playing as a winger number 10 kind of thing. And he did really well. What a goal. But that goal came not with Cunha as a number 9, because Shesko had already been on. It was actually in his position as a 10. And great to see one of those long strikes go in. I've been a little bit critical of Cunha. I think he's a little bit too trigger friendly. But listen, if he pulls the trigger and the bullets are like the one he's unleashed today, he won't be having me complain too much. So keep them coming, Cunha. Improve on the finishing and you'll be good. Shesko came on. Brilliant. Just for his contributions. I thought it was great. And I was watching it with, a few friends, some Guna friends, and I can tell, guys, they're not going to admit it, but clearly they wish that they had Shesko instead of Gyökeres right now. I'm not saying Shesko is a world beater, but compared to Gyökeres, I think he's way better. So I'm glad he got involved in that game. He got involved in that goal. It was a brilliant chess, took the ball down, control it, pass it on to Bruno, touched it onto Mainu, who then gets an assist for Cunha. Brilliant. So Shesko gets a 7. Mazraoui had come on. Didn't see much from Mazraoui. 6.5. And Carrick, the manager. Now, if you guys notice, I've gone through the entire player ratings. I've not given my man of the match. They're all contenders. I'm going to say my man of the match award for this man, Michael Carrick. The highest score I've given to the outfield players, to any players, has been a 7.5. The score I'm going to give Carrick, for me, has to be a 9. He has galvanized Old Trafford. He has brought the feel-good factor amongst the players, silenced the pundits, answered really well to the media. I don't get carried away. Oh, Carrick, and I don't get carried away. Nearly rhymed there. But no, I genuinely don't get carried away with managers now. Post Sir Alex Ferguson, I knew it was going to be a monumental effort replacing him. But I think it's the first time since Sir Alex Ferguson that I'm giving a rating to a manager like this, and he deserves nothing less. After Manchester City, he comes out. He lined up the team against Arsenal, and this is what I mean, guys. And no signal, you may be the only viewer right now, but great live stream. Thank you so much. Well, here's what I want to say on Carrick. He started the game against Arsenal, and Arsenal were all over us. Didn't cause us great deal of problems, so maybe Carrick should take some credit already there. But this is the point I am going to come to, because Carrick clearly changed. We adapted. That second half, you see how a team like Man United, we scored from a mistake from Arsenal. We went in with parity. But the game was still probably more Arsenal overall in the first half. The second half was a complete change. He even had Roy Keane talking good about this team, praising the players in the second half, praising the goal, praising the changes. Carrick made some changes, and they were not glaring changes on the pitch like players, etc. Yes, he does that. He's brought Cunha on, etc. He's galvanized. Even the subs are playing for him. But clearly he tweaked the way that the team was playing. I think he started today with a little bit more of a out of position 5 at the back with Dorgu. But he smelt it. He smells the game. He understands the game. He feels the game. And he made the right changes. He pushed Dorgu up. And now, before you know it, not just Dorgu had to be worried about Saka. His left, excuse me, his left Luke Shaw to deal with Saka defensively. And now Saka had to be doing tracking back for Dorgu. He doesn't want to be doing that. And that change alone, for me, merits a lot of applause and credit to Michael Carrick. He's made some other changes throughout. The way that United have been playing in this second half especially, and in both halves against Manchester City, you've got to give Michael Carrick his flowers. 9 out of 10. He's my man of the match today. So, Gaffer, you take the plaudits. The away fans were absolutely brilliant. London-based, especially away fans, I think that were the best fans in the country. Made lots of noise today at Arsenal. Could not tell whether this was. There was a lot of obviously Arsenal fans. No doubt they made a lot of noise, but United was still being heard. Brilliant. And the referee, for me, the referee deserves to get some criticism today. I didn't see the most assured of performances. I'll give him an average score of 6. So this is it for me, guys. I did think. Thank you, No Signal. I really appreciate your support, and I'll be ending really soon. I think Arsenal were there for the taking because Arsenal have not been playing to win. They've generally been playing the last 3 matches: Nottingham Forest, Liverpool, and Man United. Yeah, it's they've been playing to not lose. Artena's been playing to not lose, and they've been scoring most of the goals on set pieces. The percentage of goals that they've scored from open play, they are 17th in the league. So they were there for the taking, and I'm glad Man United took it. Thank you so much to you as well, No Signal, for watching. It's been an honor having you too. And we move on to the next game. The next game is going to be super critical for me because Man United are now on fourth place for the first time. Every time we've got a chance to go into the top 4, we bottle it. But for the first time, we're ahead of Chelsea. We're ahead of Liverpool. We have only got Arsenal, Man City, and Aston Villa ahead of us. And guess what? We've just beaten Arsenal and Manchester City. But now comes the acid test. Now comes the real test for me. Because our next match is next Sunday at 2 p.m, I believe, at home against Fulham. We didn't win the away fixture. I think we drew against Fulham when we should have won. Now we're going to have to play against teams who are going to sit back, wait for us. Both Arsenal and Manchester City, especially, came at us. Arsenal less so. That's why I'm confident going into the Fulham game. But honestly, guys, this is the acid test. Getting ourselves excited and up for Fulham, to receive Fulham, and putting them to the sword is going to be the new challenge for Michael Carrick and this team. I hope they do it. Because Man United throughout, since Sir Alex Ferguson left, we've been great at getting results against the big teams, but against the small teams, we just can't do it. So we really need to take this seriously. We need to win. And I think we've got 15 games left in the league. These are 15 finals. 23 matches gone. We're in fourth spot. Here's something that you won't hear anywhere else. Man United, everyone is so happy. I think, guys, this year, 2025-2026 season, for me, has been the weakest Premier League season for years. I can't remember the last time it was so weak. Maybe when Leicester won it. And as such, we are 12 points away from Arsenal. I know Rio Ferdinand's not going to say it, and a lot of pundits are just happy with Man United. Just winning, right? I'm going to say it now. I think Man United can go on a real run, a genuine real run to challenge for that title, not just for a Champions League spot. A genuine challenge. We're 12 points behind. Do you back this Arsenal team to win 12 out of 15? They're going to have to. They're going to have to. But I think they will drop a lot more points. Manchester City will drop a lot more points. I think Manchester City will probably, in my opinion, probably get more points from now until the end of the season than Arsenal will. I'm clearly, as a Man United fan, hoping Aston Villa will be able to keep up with those two. But I genuinely think Man United can really challenge. Are we going to get there? I'm not saying we will get there. We're 12 points behind. Yeah. Arsenal are on 50 points and we are on 38. We're 12 points behind, guys. I think it's a little bit too much to catch. But it's not about rankings from now on. I think we have to go for points. Let's just try and take as many points as possible and leave the rest to destiny. So if this happens, you've heard it here. In fact, I had bet on Man United to win the title before the season started with Ruben Amorim. I just didn't see this working as bad as it did with Amorim. And that's why I was so cross, because he genuinely had a chance. I'm not a big fan of this Arsenal team. I'm not a big fan of this Manchester City team. They are not the Manchester City of yesteryears. And Liverpool, for me, I had Liverpool to win the title again. And they have just been the biggest shock of the Premier League. You could have an argument on Liverpool being the worst title defenders we've had or we've ever had. They're out of the top 4. I mean, there's a lot of football to be played left for the rest of the season, but who knows? But yeah, I think United have got to take this seriously, guys. There's Fulham and then Spurs come along. If we can continue this winning momentum, if we can get our free throwing football, we're in for a chance. So here's to optimism. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, No Signal. It's been lovely having your messages, seeing your support, having you support us. Really, really kind words. And I'm super happy today. We've partied. It's now 1:30 over here at mine. I'm going to wish you all a good night. Take care. Stay safe. Until the next time. Bye-bye.